All right, I guess it's time. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the live stream. We're back here with the Coffee and Cigars live stream, episode number 198. Can you believe that 198? That's just kind of crazy. 198 episodes here of the Coffee and Cigars live stream, and we are here. It is the 27th of June, 2024. Been over 4 years now, almost 4 years we started this, so kind of crazy that we're here. And 2 episodes away from the 200th episode, where we're going to be on July 11th. We're going to be up at Ridgewood, New Jersey, at the Tobacco Shop of Ridgewood. We're going to have our 200th episode up there, and so come join us. Plan on coming down to Ridgewood, New Jersey, and join us there. Mom, how are you, man? Good to see you. Always good to have you there, man. Good to see you. So it was kind of hot today. Like, it got to the 90s, and now we're like hovering right around 81. Like, now it feels, when you've been in 94-degree weather all day, 81 feels cold. Like, I feel chilly, of all things. Can you believe that? Good night. Oh, yeah, don't worry. I get you. I got you. I got you. I got you. It feels cold. Like, I feel chilly. Like, I want to start the fire. We might start the fire just because. Well, just because, right? All right. So tonight we're having some coffee and we're going to have some cigars. The cigars today is going to be the Fonseca Edition MX, which stands for Mexico, because this. So as you know, Fonseca is an old brand that came from Cuba, and then after the Cuban crisis, they a new company had the name here in America, and there was a Fonseca brand that happened for many years, and I remember smoking those in the 90s, and they were pretty good. But I guess the Fonseca whatever fell out, and recently Pepin Garcia and My Father Cigar took over the brand, and have released cigars under the Fonseca name. And it's a different thing than Fonseca. I think I still have some Fonsecas here of the original company's release. And this particular one is the new MX, and it's called the Edition MX because it has a San Andres Mexican wrapper that is different than the original wrapper, which was a Nicaraguan Corojo 99. And so they wanted to call it Edition MX. I thought it was interesting. They called Edition, not Edicion. Just a little minor change there. One's in English, one's in Spanish. But we're going to have that. And then today's coffee, we're going to start with the coffee today. Pretty simple kind of coffee today. Today's coffee is well, not a cold brew, but actually an iced coffee that I brewed yesterday. And it's just been sitting. So if you joined me on the live stream yesterday morning on the Coffee Q&A on the main channel, this is the coffee that we brewed yesterday morning. So it's over 24 hours. So it's just been sitting around on the bar, just kind of chilling, cooling down, and it feels relatively cool, but it also looks relatively cloudy. Like, look at that. That's looking kind of cloudy. I'm kind of surprised. Um, Typically we make cold brew and we let it sit, it just kind of falls out. Craig's with us. What's going on, Craig? How are things up in Ottawa? And this one looks like it did some oxidation, but we're going to see, what does it taste like. You can see some oils floating on top. I don't know if we can see that really too well on the camera, but yeah, you can see some of the oils floating there. And yeah, so what this coffee is, this is the House Nation. It's mainly a coffee that I sourced from El Salvador, from the Santa Ana region. It is a washed coffee, so fairly standard red bourbon type of coffee. Just some nice chocolate notes, good body typically, and something very approachable, because this blend is really about being approachable to the general drinking public. So I've also got my little corksicle tumbler, my Star Wars Darth Vader tumbler, that I just chock filled with ice, as you can see. And we're just going to pour that over. You just pour this over the ice to make it cold. As you can see there, not bad. Pretty simple kind of brewing today, right? So this coffee yesterday was on the brighter side. Still has that kind of crisp brightness to it. refreshing for warmer. Actually, it's now that the temperature has dropped. It feels chilly. Like if we were in the middle of December, this would be hot. But 81 degrees feels chilly at the moment. All right, so that's pretty much that. So how's your week, guys? How's your guys' weeks been? Anything happen? Anything interesting? Anything going on? Also, what are you smoking? Let me know if you're smoking, if you're outside, inside. I've been really liking this weather, even though this past week's been relatively hot. I've enjoyed being outside. I've been outside a lot lately, and yeah, it's nice to be out. Though there have been a couple days where it was really heavy, the heat, and so that's to me that's a bit difficult. But yeah, but in the summer we spend so much time here on the East Coast in the winter when it's cooler weather. Hiding out inside that I like to try to get out as much as possible. Like actually, I try to go out if I'm going to have a cigar during the week. I want to go outside and enjoy it because so much time is spent inside. And so like I've been looking to see if there's anywhere to go for outdoor smoking, but I haven't smoked anything all week because of that. I haven't gone out. Typically I've been home and just like working on a video for Saturday, which it doesn't look like I'll be able to fit. I mean, at the moment it doesn't look like I'll be able to finish. Maybe it will be. We'll see. There's so much happening over the next 2 days. So it's like one of my cousin's birthdays, his 50th birthday is Saturday. We got a big party for him. And then my brother's birthday was yesterday, so we went out to dinner for that. And so, by the way, here's something I learned. So my sister-in-law calls me and she's like, "Hey, can you get a cake? Can you get a cake for your brother's birthday?" I was like, "Sure. What kind of cake?" So, "Ice cream cake." And when I was growing up, my cousins and we all ate Carvel. Carvel was the cake, right? Get the Carvel cake, 2 layers. The center has the crunchies, right? And at Carvel, you could buy the crunchies in a little cup of it, and you just add more. And to me, that's the classic, right? And we've had some parties, and some of the aunts have brought the ice cream cake, and they've been fairly decent. Maybe they're picking up the Carvel that they have at like I don't know the local supermarket, and that's just been all right. But yesterday I was thinking, where can I go? So I called up a couple of the local uh, nice ice cream shops, and one location didn't have any at all because they're like, oh, well, only a couple of our locations have it. And then I called up another friend's location, and they were like, "Oh, we have these pies." And I was like, my brother doesn't want a pie. I mean, pie for me is fine, but you want that crunch, right? And so I found a Baskin Robbins, and I figured I'm just going to go to Baskin and Robbins. So I went to Baskin and Robbins, and they had this thing called fudge crunch cake. And what it is, I bought it. It's $45, right? So with tax, $45, a little bit pricey nowadays, but chocolate, vanilla, crunchies, and then this kind of, I don't know if it was vanilla or whatever. It was a white icing. Man, that was good. All right. That was like it used to be when we were young. So kind of hard to imagine I'm going to recommend Baskin Robbins, but Baskin Robbins fudge crunch cake, that was hella good. Hella good. So give it a try if you're in the mood or looking for ice cream cakes. Yeah, All right, let's get into it now. We're going to go to our MX. We've got our humidor. Rusty probably won't be joining us. He's in Italy this week. Remember, I said last week he's heading out to Italy. He's taking his high school students on a grand tour of Italy. They went Cinque Terre yesterday. I saw he was posting on Facebook. He also joined us on the live stream yesterday. And so I think he's having a good time. We're in Italy. And then I just saw one of my friends, my former manager. She was like, "I just came back from Spain." And I was like, "Really? What are you doing there?" She's like, "I took my students to Spain. They went to Cordoba, to Sevilla, and just kind of hung out there. So very nice, very nice." All right, so this is it. The Fonseca. What is it? I feel like I have to go here when I should be going here. There we go. Fonseca, My Father, Edition MX, Edition Mexico. Again, so this has a Mexican San Andres wrapper. Then the filler and binder are actually from Nicaragua, grown by the Pepin family, the Garcia family. And I guess they have their own fields now, and they've been producing their own tobacco. And so Everything is there for tobacco except for the wrapper, right? But nice looking band, good size. This is the Toro Grande, 6.5 by 56. So a nice size. There is a Toro Gordo, which is like 6 by 60, and I'm not a big 60 fan, so this should be just right. I like the Toro size. Robusto works too, but maybe the Rothschild is getting a little bit short. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let's take that out. It's got the foot ribbon, a little bit of cedar, Fonseca, and then double band, the Edition MX, and then the My Father top label. So Fonseca here, Fonseca there, and yeah, we're gonna take that off. So looks very pretty. Like the wrapper quality looks quite nice. A lightly spicy wrapper, not terribly heavy on the fragrance. Feels nice, silky. Looks, overall looks very good. Not terribly veiny. Right? Looks all right. We're gonna cut that open with our Zycar MTX cutter. Oh, I totally mucked that up. The nice thing about the Zycar, this scissor types cutter, is that now I can trim it out as though I was cutting its hair. There's a little bit of a weird cut right there. Like it's almost like I didn't remove all the wrapper. So I just gotta cut that. Oh yeah, I gotta cut that away. Is that better? No, that's not better. Look at that. Okay, so just pull that up here. And I want to trim it a little bit more. So this cigar, it was announced at the 2024 PCA show in Vegas early this year. George with us. What's going on, George? That wrapper looks this. Yeah, the wrapper looks really nice. Look at that. That is just super nice looking. Feels good. Very loose on the draw. Like it's very free flowing. And Tony, what's going on, Tony? My Father with San Andres looks tasty. It's promising to be a good. Hopefully it augurs well, right? I'm a little bit concerned the draw is really loose, really like easy, like maybe almost to the point of being too easy. Hopefully in this case it will tighten up when we light it, whereas other times we've had cigars where you're trying the cold draw and it's a little bit tight, and then you light it and it loosens up. We're gonna hope for the reverse of that. Let me get our score sheet out here. And our pen. All right, all right, all right, all right. Let's see here. Let's see here. So fragrance, I thought the fragrance overall was light, right? It wasn't very heavy, not really any heaviness to it. Um, so qualitatively, I would have to say it's a little bit of the lower part of the scale. Cold draw, it's very fast flowing as the draw. So I would have to say that qualitatively, it's also kind of intensity is kind of low, but qualitatively, very good. 8, because there's even though it's very beautiful, very pretty. Yeah, very good. I'll say very good. perhaps it's a little bit disappointing that it's just very good. George is having a My Father La Opulencia. All right, we're having all My Father here. Good. That's good to see. And even Tony's having the Don Pepin Vintage Corona Gorda. Oh, nice, nice. Over at Comac, what? Tell the guys we said hello. And yes, Diet Sherbet. All right, so we're going to do the lighting here with our lightsaber, as always. Canada's finest lightsaber. Oh, and I'm running out of gas. I should have refilled. My kyber crystals are running low. All right, that's a good. We got a good light, good amount of smoke production. Ooh, some nice spicy notes. Interesting beginning. Interesting beginning. There's Brian. What's going on, Brian? How are you, man? Good to see you. What are you having tonight? Yeah, it's definitely a very loose, easy drawing cigar. I mean, this thing is drawing so easily. Like it's more free flowing than like a box press cigar. So a little bit surprising, a little bit, even a little bit disappointing because it's it feels like it's past the comfort zone for resistance in draw. Like not really, really fast past it, just a hair, just a little bit past, right? Just a little bit. But the flavor is actually quite nice, quite enjoyable. I'm enjoying. I'm liking it. A little bit of chocolate, dark chocolate, cacao kind of notes, tobacco notes. There's a little bit of spiciness to it. Like I have very positive feelings about the flavor right off the bat, and which is an interesting thing for me because I know I've said this before, but when it comes to my father's cigars, right? I tend I don't find them typically to be to my wheelhouse. Like I've really struggled with them over the years. Like you want to like them. I know I'm supposed to like them, right? I love Tatuaje stuff, so why have I not responded as well to the Pepin Garcia, the Jaime Garcia line? I haven't been able to understand. I haven't really figured that out. But I know that like I can smoke Tatuajes and really enjoy them. And to be honest, I was gifted a while back a box of these really lovely Jaime Garcia Bellicosos with the blue label, really beautiful cigars. I gifted the box, like just a wonderful, generous gift that I'm very grateful for. And did smoke the entire box, but it did take a long time for me to smoke it because every time I smoke one, it just didn't hit me. It just didn't ring true for me, right? Brian says, I'm probably going to have a Liga 9 Rat from 2014. Ooh, 2014. 10 years. My gosh. Such a big difference between the 9 and the T52. So do you like the 9 more than the T52? For me personally, and I haven't really smoked those Drews in a little while. I always found myself gravitating to the T52 Bellicoso more than the Liga number 9. There was something to me about the Liga number 9 that, to me, the T52 is just more expressive, much more. exciting, much more enjoyable. The T52, the 9 was kind of heavy and dull on my palate. I did the other day. I was on Sunday night. On Sunday. I went down to Virginia to Chantilly because a friend of mine was moving out of the country, or not moving out of the country, but moving out of the area down to Texas, and he was having a going away party. So I was down there all day long, and if you remember, Sunday was incredibly hot, like it was blazing hot, and we were outside the whole afternoon from like 1 p.m. to like 6, and I was just it was brutal. I had a great time. I had a great time hanging out with awesome friends, but it was a brutalized kind of heat. Now, Brian says he likes the T52. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. But on the way home, I was like, I want to have and I went out to eat afterwards, and I decided to, I wanted to have a cigar. I found a cigar shop. Not a cigar shop. I found a hookah shop. Well, here's something for you. I found a hookah shop in Vienna, Virginia. And I went to this Thai restaurant in Vienna. I was eating there, and I was like, time for me to go home. It's about 9. It's almost 9 o'clock. I wonder if there's cigar shops in the area. And luckily, this hookah shop was just a couple doors down. And I was looking through the pictures on Google's Maps, and they have a walk-in humidor. And this guy, in their humidor, they had pictures of like the stacks being, Drew Estate, Padron, My Father, and Tatuaje. And I was like, a hookah. And so I was like, all right, I'll give it a try, right? I was expecting to pay, crazy amount of money. I drove over, and it's a sizable shop, maybe 2,000 square feet, all of hookah gear, like all kinds of hookah stuff, right? Hookah bottles and pipes and all the accessories, everything hookah. I was like, wow, this is crazy. A little bit of small seating, nice, comfortable seating area in the corner for the hookah people. But then there's a small humidor. And the guy was like, do you have the cigars? He's like, oh, yeah, they're just inside here. Real friendly, like Middle Eastern dude. And I'm presuming he's Middle Eastern, just by the way he kind of talked. And he had the beard. And I walked in and I looked, and he did have a really nice selection. I ended up choosing the Drew Estate Undercrown Maduro Robusto. I picked that up, and $10, which I don't know the pricing of those cigars today, but to me, $10 for that Robusto at a hookah shop when there's no cigar shops in the area, is like, well, that seems fairly reasonable. There's George. What's up? Greetings, all. Sorry I can't stick around, but I'm in the middle of an event at Capitals Cigar with Michael Rushing. We are celebrating the American by J.C. Newman, and we have Angel. Oh, very nice. Well, enjoy yourself there. Thanks for checking. Great to see you there, George. And so I bought this cigar, and the guy's super friendly, and I was like, he said something like, you're probably, I was like, I'm really surprised. I said something about like, wow, you have a nice selection. And he's like, yeah, you're probably surprised. He said something like, you're probably surprised about something. And I was like, actually, I'm not surprised about whatever he said. And I forgot what he said. And I was like, I just am what did surprise me was that you have this very respectable selection of cigars instead of the typical general consolidated, STG kind of cigar that most hookah places would have. And he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, early on, like he's only been open for like maybe 2 years. He was like, early on, one of the my customers came in. He was like, he kind of guided me towards what I should have in the humidor. And, that's really nice. A guy with some knowledge, told him, hey, try to get these. And the guy was, interested enough to listen and go for it. And I will look up the name of the place and put it in the comments later. But really quite nice. George says, I spent the weekend with Marvin Samuel, the co-founder of Drew Estate. Oh, nice, yes. During the creation of Liga and T52. Excellent. Were you up in New York or down here? And whatever happened to the professor? I saw the professor was posting that he's in the DC area a few days ago, and then now he's up in New Jersey. I said to him, I commented on his post. I said, hey, let me know where you are, and we'll come out and and hang out because I would love to see you. He never responded. So much for loving me. Also, I saw Sean Coleman was here last weekend from Roma. He was down at the Tobacco Leaf in Waldorf. Home in D.C. Nice, nice. So we're just getting into it still. But oh yes, Jose Blanco. Jose Blanco. We call him the professor. I don't know why. When I first met him years ago, that's what the guys that I was with were calling El Profesor. I was like, oh, professor. Okay, very good. But this cigar, I am enjoying. Loose draw, easy drawing, nice, good complexity with flavor. Like I said, chocolate, tobacco, some spiciness, not peppery spice, just a spiciness to it. Baking spice, maybe. But I am finding it quite enjoyable. Now, I did have the original release of the Fonseca a while back. I think I had it just as a cigar for my enjoyment, and I don't really recall what that was like, but I do remember. I don't have negative feelings about it, so I imagine it was fairly enjoyable. But speaking of enjoyable, we went to oh, Mike Rosales, co-founder of Roma Craft, was also sitting with us. Oh, so Mike was also in DC. Guy didn't call me either. Nobody gives me any love here. Oh my gosh. I should have called you on Sunday when I was down in Chantilly. Well, I was pretty exhausted. Um, but this is fairly enjoyable. I feel like it's enjoyable enough that I feel like and it's enjoyable enough, and it's the draw is easy enough that I feel like I'm going to start to puff on it too fast, too much, too hard. So I'm trying to control myself from getting a little bit carried away with it. But so far, I'm enjoying it. George says that My Father Fonseca MX is excellent, but it's very different from the My Father blend. Oh yeah, very, very different. I don't have the same response to this that I would have for those. Like, I'm really liking this. George says Jose was busy every minute he was here. I only got well, I figured he probably was busy. I know he's doing the ambassador thing for Fuente, so not a big deal. Not a big deal. Craig says that the Partagas Series D #4 for me. Nice, nice. Again with the Habana Club Smoky. And how is that Series D #4 starting at? I imagine that it's another one of your 15-year aged cigars. Yeah, yeah. All right. I'm liking this. But we're almost to half an hour, and I need to slow down because we're gonna plow through this sucker if I don't watch out. But nice. The night is cool. It's enjoyable to be outside. So very cool, very cool. George says, I meant to say that the new Fonseca is quite different from the original blend by Manuel Quesada in the DR. Oh, yes. You mean and so I don't know the history too well. So the older Fonseca that had the band that was just the red F, right? That came in the more cabinet style boxes, so not terribly pretty. Were those made by Manuel Quesada? Am I correct in that? Okay, yeah, I need to slow down. I need to slow down. Maybe drink more coffee. Salvadoran coffee, Nicaraguan cigar with Mexican wrapper. George says, is there a second cigar on tap for the show? This Fonseca doesn't see. Challenge accepted. Well, who knows? If we do run out, additional cigars are not terribly far away. This week finally started got the cruise back into the new shop, and they've been fixing up the place. So we are making actual progress forward with the new shop. So hopefully that will augur good times to come. So what's been going on with you guys this week? Anything interesting happening? I was trying to think, I started watching The Acolyte. That's what I started doing. I started watching The Acolyte. I saw the first episode. I think I saw the second episode. And not bad. Not bad. I'm not chomping at the bit to see the third episode, but I'll catch up to it eventually. George says that yes, Manolo made those in the DR. The cabinet version you're describing was made exclusively for me at the Davidoff flagship store. Oh, all right. The last thing I have from Fonseca, I do have a small box of the really tiny Fonsecas, the two-twos. And I bought it years and years ago. The box is open, but I don't think I've smoked one out of it. We should probably try that one day. So the burn, maybe I'm pulling a little bit more. So it's changing. That last puff, it changed just a little bit. Like until that point, it had this really nice tobacco, cacao, spice. That one felt a little bit on the brighter side, that puff. George says, have you watched this new season of The Bear? I have not. I think it just dropped today, right? The 27th. One of my friends I saw today, he was like, yeah, I saw the first 2 episodes already. I was like, dude, I need to watch that. And then he was like, I would have watched more, but my internet cut out. And I was like, I'm hoping for it to be good. I'm looking for. I saw a blurb as I was searching through the news feed today that someone wrote, I just saw the headline of it. I didn't read the article because I was like, I don't want to know anything about it. But it did say that that season 3 was not as good and that it was relying too much on star power. I was like, huh, really? I don't know. George says, watching Black Sails on Netflix. Tony told me about it. It's awesome. Yeah. The guys watched all of those Black Sails. They were totally into it for, I don't know, maybe a year or 2 or so. I personally haven't seen it either. I probably should catch up with that. One of my sister-in-law last week was telling me, you should be watching Friends. And I was like, I've never seen Friends. And then my cousins were like, yeah, you should watch Friends. It'll be good. I was like, you probably will enjoy it. So all right, maybe I'll watch it. George says the two-twos are quite flavorful, but mild. Old school DR smoke. They are old school, those things. I mean, they still have this label on it that was the old school label that faders used to put on their boxes. So I've had it for quite a while. For me with the Bear, oh, there goes my ash. Just fell off. George says that great choice show, but don't give away the premise. It's a pirate show. That's the premise. But I'm looking forward to the Bear. Like the Bear, when the Bear started, of course, everyone likes Carmi. Like Carmi was the guy, right? And Cousin was really a pain in the butt. Like you're just like, this guy, he's got to go. Cousin's got to go. We got to get rid of Cousin and get him out of here. But in season 2, like my favorite episode of the entire series was season 2, episode 7, where they send Cousin to go work at the restaurant called Ever, and he learns the true nature of service at a very high level. That's my favorite of all of the entire series. I'm like, I love his transformation, right? Like he's got a lot of passion. He just didn't know how to harness it, and that I think has given him focus. And so it's good to see him in the last couple episodes of last season where he's like applying some of that what he learned there. And for me for season 3, I'm looking forward to seeing how he blossoms, or hopefully how that really impacts him and his approach to the bear, the restaurant. George says that don't let the critics turn you off. Esther is not to worry. I mean, I like this series enough that regardless of what this reviewer said about the star power, they're relying on star power. That matters little. I'm going to go watch the show. I definitely watch it, especially since when I was in Chicago, I went to the restaurant called Mr. Beef. Mr. Beef is the restaurant that they shot the original series in, and it is the restaurant that the show is based off of. Now, and they were telling me when I was there in April, they were like, "Oh yeah, the guys were just here shooting on Monday," and I was there like on a Thursday. They were shooting her on Monday, Tuesday, and I was like, "Oh really?" And I was kind of confused. I was like, "Why would they shoot here still?" Like, if you go inside Mr. Beef looks like the bear did originally, right? It looked like the original beef restaurant. It doesn't look anything like the new fine dining restaurant that they built. And of course, that's a set. And so I figured out that they were doing pickups because the season they already shot the entire season, right? This is in April, so they had shot the entire season. They were probably doing outdoor pickups and probably just shooting whatever happens outside by the dumpsters or people smoking cigarettes. And so I'm just interested to go and see the series and how that may blend in, right? You would love the montage at the beginning of season 3, episode 1. I'm going to have to go download that tonight. I should be editing, but I'm going to go do it tonight. George 1, I think you're probably right about this 9:30 thing. Man, this is definitely in my wheelhouse. Like, you know how much I enjoy the revenge. It's kind of got a revenge-esque kind of complexity to it, right? By the way, that brightness that I said in that one puff has, not really, that really hasn't taken over. That's still kind of, we've gone back to that nice blend of chocolate, tobacco, spice. This is like, this could be somewhat similar to the revenge, but without the heaviness, without all the darkness, right? I think the Romacraft Revenge is heavier, darker, more sinister in tone, where this is a little bit more nice, lighter. Mr. Beef scenes galore. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm so interested. Have you seen the entire season 3 or just a few of the episodes? Because if you saw the entire series, you must have just sat there and just binged it all in one sitting. What I've been binging lately is the How I Met Your Mother, and I'm sure I must have mentioned this, recently. But since they started showing How I Met Your Mother, I think it just came to Netflix in June. So I've been watching 5, 6, and 7, and 8. I'm in the middle of season 8 now, and I mean I'm powering through it. Like every day I'll watch like maybe 5, 6, 7 episodes in a row, or at least sometime during the day. And if you remember, 3 episodes last night. All right, very good, very good. Craig says, in other news, I got a Ninja Creamy. Oh, congratulations. Pocket Jet for home with the Father's Day sale. My new favorite. So what have you made in it? What have you made? And what is your recipe? Are you using the typical creme anglaise kind of base or using a little bit more simpler? I've been playing around with a creme anglaise base, a more gelato style base, and then a more simple base of just the heavy, the whole sugar, and then whatever added to it. But I've also been playing with this gelato base that has mostly egg yolks with milk and and sugar. Another one that I was playing around with had heavy, whole, powdered corn syrup and sugar. I didn't like that when I first spun it. I like it now. I like it better now that it's hardened. George says Aroma Cruff will be a great second cigar. Yeah, the only problem is I don't have any more Revenges. But we'll move into that. I have a Whiskey Rebellion. I have my last Whiskey Rebellion box pressed. The one with the guy's name. I can't remember the guy's name. But maybe we'll move to that. Maybe we'll move to that. Sorbet with frozen berries, half simple syrup, half syrup. Oh, that's beautiful. What more? What more do you need? You get some fresh berries, nice tasting, or just nice tasting berries. And I made I had some, my cousin gifted me some what we call lanka, jackfruit from the local Asian market. And she's like, I know you like it. So here, I bought you some. And I was like, wow, what am I going to do with this half lanka, this half jackfruit? Like it's just massive, like this big. So he stripped it all out. And I had some strawberries. So I was just like, I'm not going to be able to, I can't eat this much jackfruit in one sitting or before it's going to go bad. So I just blended it all and made it into sorbet. And it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. Yeah, the creamy is nice. The only thing about the creamy, and actually the only thing about the creamy is that you must spin, it only spins the entire beaker. Like you can't spin per portion. So the other day I was making, I was using the gelato base, which is basically 3 egg yolks, a little bit of heavy. Was a little bit of heavy. Was there any heavy at all? Maybe no heavy at all. But there was some heavy. Think 3 egg yolks, heavy, a little bit of heavy, whole, and sugar. So super simple. And I froze them. I also have a Paco Jet. So I froze up a white base, the Fior de Latte base, in one, and then I made some chocolate base. I took that, no, not Fior de Latte. I took the regular yolk based, the yolk base, froze that in a beaker, and then I took the other half while it was still hot and mixed in some of this 70% cocuy that I get from Nacional de Chocolate, the Cordillera brand from Colombia. Mixed that in and made a chocolate gelato. Froze that in the thing, and then I've only spun the chocolate in the Paco. So in the Paco, you can tell it how many portions you want. 1 to 9 or something. I think the beaker, if you fill the beaker to the line, I think there's 8 servings in it. I only used half of it, so there's only 4. But I spun one of them, and I scooped it out, and I think it got too aerated, and so I think next time I'm going to have to hit the anti-aeration button. But I wasn't sure. I still don't know if I like the texture. What I was thinking yesterday, I was like, I should have spun the entire beaker and then then froze it again, so that it gets more like ice cream. But I'll try that. I'll try that again. The only problem is, it's like the Paco, like the creamy, the Paco is sizable, so you got to dig it out and put on a counter and plug it in and sanitize everything and go use it and put it all away. I did it for that one spin, and I was like, I should have spun everything. I was like, I did it. The interesting thing about the Paco, when you're using it to serve, you're not doing the entire beaker. And if there's a way to stop the creamy in midstream, this is something you might want to try. Like when you make, I would make sometimes blueberry ice cream with the Paco or whatever berry ice cream. And so you pour the base into the beaker and then you put the fruit, or either way, the fruit stacked in the beaker, right? And then when you just portion it out and you only spin a part of it and you scoop the spun ice cream that's on the top and you leave the hard frozen mix on the bottom, it's really fascinating because you see at the bottom, on the surface, this really interesting pattern of like the shaved off bits of front. You can see it's basically like you're cutting through it and seeing like a cross section of the fruit frozen in the mix. It's really pretty. Like I thought it was really a pretty, visual kind of thing. Okay, we're getting close. I'm gonna say that we are past the first third. Now, when we talk about body, intensity of body has been relatively medium to medium minus, right? Not very intense in body, right? Qualitatively, I think very good. So I'm going to say 8.5. Flavor wise, I also think 8.5. It's very good. I think one of the things that when thinking about scoring, right, is that I am very much enjoying this. I very much enjoying the overall experience of the cigar. The smoke production is nice. The draw is lighter than other cigars, but it has become quite enjoyable. And I think that one of the potential pitfalls that you have when you're evaluating is that you're liking it and you're prone to give a higher score than may necessarily be reflected in the actual cigar. And I think this is a very good smoke that I'm liking, that I would probably buy more of. But that doesn't mean that it's a 10, right? And if we think about the Revenge, which we've featured on the show before, I think the Revenge only got like 86. Like it wasn't the highest. It's by far the cigar that I like the most of all the cigars over the last several years. But it's not the highest ranked. It's not the highest scoring cigar. Whereas you would think that perhaps if I'm loving something, it should have the highest score. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Getting a little bit of unevenness right there. So probably, doing a little bit too fast. So what are the other plans for your creamy there, Craig? What else are you gonna make in it? Anything interesting? Anything else? I've been thinking about ice cream a lot this past few weeks. And I do have an ice cream recipe that I've used in the past, but I'm just like, I'm exploring other recipes because I want to just see, am I still enjoying that other recipe as much as I have been? Or was it a recipe that I've been using as a default recipe, right? George says he's on to the Undercrown 10th. Oh, very nice, very nice. 10th anniversary Undercrown. At that hookah store, they also had the Undercrown shade. I almost bought the Undercrown shade. I really have liked the Undercrown shade quite a lot over the years since it came out. I think what I like about this Fonseca is that it just doesn't have the heaviness, right? It's a lighter body. To me, it's a lighter bodied cigar. Some of the other cigars, like the Tatuaje, like the Roma Crafts, they're heavier. They're a little bit more weighty. This is a little bit lighter, a little bit more fun, a little bit more enjoyable as far as the weight goes. So that Maduro, on a Crown Maduro that I had on the ride home from Chantilly was fairly good. Although I don't know if you guys have this experience, but I've been noticing that when I'm driving and smoking, the burn is just all kinds of mucked up, right? Like it just gets all kinds of mucked up. Like it's like, like a shelf that forms. And I think as I'm driving, that the part of the cigar that I hold as the top burns a lot slower than the lower part of it. So if you guys are smoking in your vehicles, do you experience the same phenomenon? When I used to have a convertible many, many years ago in the 90s when I was still living in Hawaii, I was smoking then. And I forgot how it burned, but it really burned crazily when I was doing that. But the best part about having a convertible is that it's just blowing out. I do miss having a convertible. That was very, very nice, especially with weathers like this. I'm going to try smoothies once I get extra. Oh, nice, nice. I only have 2 containers at the moment. I think I lent one to Bud and I haven't got it back yet. Bud, I haven't got my container back. So did you get it from Costco? Did you say you got it from Costco? Oh, you did not say it. Were you able to get it for a good price? I think I got mine with a discount from Costco for like 215, 225, somewhere right around there. I totally thought it was worth it. Like once I heard about it and I think I saw a video about it. There's this dude online on YouTube, a chef guy that actually like did a really thorough breakdown of it against the Paco Jet. I thought his video was really good. I was like, I'm gonna go buy that. I actually shot a video about a comparison between the Creamy and the Paco Jet. I just never edited it. It's still sitting on a hard drive somewhere. What I really like about the Paco, I mean the Creamy, it's a lot more compact than the Paco Jet. I think it's quieter. Like the Paco, when I was running it, it's loud. It's like, oh god, loud. And it's cheaper. Like you just can't beat it. You just can't beat it. And the quality of the product from the Creamy is arguably as good. Maybe not exactly as good, but not bad, not bad. Direct from Ninja in Canada. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, the Chef Steps guy, that guy. I really liked his video. I was like, I really like that. All right, I'm taking off the other band. I haven't seen any of the other videos that he's made. I mean, I think I was searching for Creamy when I found his video, but I thought it was really well done. I've been trying to do this sourdough mother, following the Nancy Silverton recipe. Like, and then somebody has a video of Nancy Silverton from the 90s where she's super young and the video quality is all kind of fuzzy. And she's like making the mother, and I'm failing. I'm failing miserably at this mother. Like it's just not working. And it's like there's this little pile of like flour and then liquid, and then you can see the the grapes stuck in. I think I waited too long to feed it, and it totally died. I think it's dead. I don't know if it's dead or not. What I'm thinking about doing is I might hit it with sugar, or I might just go and hit it with a pack of Red Star just to kickstart it. But what I was thinking about it, I haven't asked any of my friends about this, but what I was thinking about the other day, I was like, I've heard this recipe more than once, where you're taking flour, water, and grapes. But why grapes? Right? I get the why, the natural yeast, but I mean, like if we're talking about like gathering natural yeast, like from Northern California, you're in whatever Napa Valley, and you want to get your grapes, and you're going to use that, and you're trying to use the natural yeast that are on the grape. But here in the East Coast, why don't we just use like cherries or something like that, some other type of thing? Are you thinking of using the Paco Jet in the cafe? Yes, yes. I mean, we were using the Paco Jet at the old cafe. That's what I bought it for. Um, but we used it a little bit, and then we didn't use it. Like I've got all kinds of like equipment that I started using at Spro. Like when I first went in like 2007, I think it was, or whatever it was. When I first heard about the anti-griddle from Polyscience, I was like, I gotta have one. So I called up Polyscience in Chicago. I was like, send me one of those. And that's how I got to know Philip Preston really well. Is that I guess I was a relatively early adopter of this, and I was a guy from the coffee world. And he's like, "What are you doing? You're doing coffee? Why are you doing that?" And I was like, "Yeah, it just looks awesome. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm just going to try to play with it." And it wasn't, it was a lot of money, but it wasn't crazy money. Like it was $1,500 at the time. The Paco was $4. And I was like, oh God, crazy. But I got the Paco because when I was building the Hamden shop, I was able to get some financing. And I was like, financing? Let's buy everything we want to buy. So I bought a Paco. I bought a Cooktech induction top. What else did we buy? I really wanted to get a one of those rotary vaps, but that was like that would have. I think I got like the financing I got was like maybe like $25,000, right? And I was like, oh, the Rotovap was like the Rotovap was like 10, and I was like, I can't burn all. I still got to buy refrigeration and all this other stuff. So I was like, I can't buy that. I can't buy that. I was like, ooh, 6,500. Wow. I have the old model, the one that just has like the LEDs and like the the little buttons that are like, press buttons. I saw the new Paco and it's got that whole high tech screen and everything. I was like, ooh, that's fancy dandy. What I also wanted to buy that I didn't buy was the Thermomix. I was like, ooh, the Thermomix. I really need that. I did end up buying the much later, much later, just a few years ago. I was at Williams Sonoma one day, and in their clearance section, their discount section, they had one of those KitchenAid heated, the ones that have the heated bowl that you it's kind of like the Thermomix ish kind of thing. And I was like, ooh, it was like I think they're normally 300, and they had it discounted to like 250, and then with my chef's discount, I think I got it for like 215 or $200. I was like, oh, I can't pass that up. And then I haven't used it, and I was like, I'm going to use it. And here at the house, I've got a 6-quart stand mixer. And I busted out the bowl, and I was like, God, it doesn't fit. What the? It needs the 7-quart mixer, which is luckily I have the 7-quart mixer too. Like that was the mixer we had at the Hamden shop. So I had it in the storage. So I pulled it out, and I was like, oh, it works. Excellent. But what I gave up from the Hamden shop when we closed it, I sold the Hobart A200 20-quart mixer. And I was kind of hemming and hawing on it. And I was like, I just get rid of it. It's a battle tank, right? It's a battle tank. And I was making some doughs the other week, and I was like, I should have kept it. I should have kept, and not that I was going to make 20 quarts of dough, but I was just thinking about it. I was like, man, now I feel ill. I should have just kept the darn A200. I would use it again because now that we're opening a new shop, I was like, maybe I can use it in the new shop. Anyway, there's always opportunity to buy a new one, but that was a beast of a machine. What I really wanted to get at one point was the N50 Hobart, the tabletop. But that's like $6,500. And I was like, oh, I don't want to spend that. I can't spend that kind of money. But what I did find online was a KitchenAid Model G, the old one, the predecessor to the N50. So I was able to get one of those, and I still have that one. But I think it needs to be rebuilt because it runs pretty well, but it feels like it feels to me that it's running kind of hard. So I think the grease is pretty seized. So I've been watching that guy, Mr. Mixer. I'm watching his videos, and like eventually I'll get around to like rebuilding because I've got a 3-quart tilt top. I've got the KitchenAid G, and they do need to be re-greased. But, I've got other projects like the shop to build, the bar for the shop to build. I've got a cutting board project that I want to do. And then my friend was like, hey, I was with a friend today, and I was like, hey, man, do you know if there's any more of these tricycles around? He's like, why, you want a tricycle? I was like, I think it'd be kind of a nice showpiece. He's like, wait right here. So he ran off. And this guy collects tricycles and leaves them all over the city. I don't know why he leaves them all over the city, but he leaves them locked up over the city. And he comes back. He's like, you have your truck? I was like, yeah. He comes back. He brings me this like yellow tricycle. And I was like, dude, new project. It needs work. It needs work. The brakes, everything works, but it needs new inner tubes at least. Probably needs to the wheels probably need to be trued, and everything just needs to be stripped down and cleaned up and just made to work really well again. So another project is ready for, and then I have this mid-century chair rebuild because I was when we went to do the show down in Alexandria, where I parked was around the corner from Old Dominion Tobacco. And as I was walking to Old Dominion, I saw down the alleyway in the trash with all the trash was this old mid-century modern type of chair, like, wood chair that had like the back and the seat pad were like, fabric. Really nice and cool looking. And it looked good. I walked over to it and checked it out. It looked in good condition. Or, it's all tattered and torn, but the frame was still solid. And I was like, if that's still here when I come back, I'm going to take it. So when I walked back, it was still there. I was like, "Oh, take that." And I looked up online how to do it, and it's fairly simple. It's just a matter of taking the time to do it. So I've got 2 mixers, a chair, a bike, a bar, a cutting board that all need to be done, but it needs a workshop. So coming along, it feels like it's gotten a little bit tighter. So the smoking is a little bit slower. So I don't know. We might not be finished by 9:30 there, George. So where my finger is, it's kind of hot underneath that wrapper. So I don't know if we're getting a little bit of a different kind of burn. So if you guys seen the Acolyte, what do you think about that? I saw episodes 1 and 2, and it's set 100 years. Here's my question for you guys, if you've seen it. The Acolyte, I believe, is set 100 years prior to the trade wars in episode 1 of Star Wars, right? So it's set pretty far ahead. But the thing that strikes me about this Star Wars universe is that, like, if we think about 100 years prior to today, 1924, and we look at the technology from 1924, we look at the vessels that people traveled in, there's a pretty big change. The change between the technology of what's being depicted in the Acolyte to Star Wars, the 9-part series, seems very like the technological progress just doesn't seem to be very much at all. I mean, we're talking about, in the span of 30 years, they built a Death Star. In the span of the next 30 years, they built the Planet Star, or whatever they called that thing. So I'm like, what's going on here? Brian says Disney Plus for those streaming. I believe so. I believe so. I believe so. And Craig says that we're missing the presidential debate. I wonder what's happening there. Yeah, I just don't watch the debates. There's nothing. The reality is, for me, there's nothing that's going to happen in a debate that's going to change my mind about who should not be president. don't know if you guys watch TikTok, but there's this guy on TikTok. He goes by the name of Mr. Global, and he's a dude that he's fairly neutral as far as like favoritism towards presidents, right? Like Biden or Trump. He's not really for one or the other, really. He's actually a guy that's worked in the oil industry. And he talks about oil industry issues. And basically, he's like, people will comment and send him messages and be like, this, and this. And he's like, no, dude, that's totally not how it works. And that's totally not what happened. And it's interesting because he talks about, in the one that I saw earlier today, he's talking about how the United States today is the largest energy producing country in the world. Like evidently we're producing incredible amounts of oil and energy, more so than ever before. But the prices are still high. And he was talking about how like OPEC had raised the prices. And he basically said straight out that the OPEC raised the prices at the behest of Trump. Trump told him to raise the prices after he was getting out of office. And he said that, he was talking about how we're producing the most amount of energy ever. But prices are still high because OPEC is still charging more. And, we're going to charge more. And we're exporting more energy than ever before. And that was part of the reason that after Obama, the prices went down because Obama released the rules restricting the United States from exporting oil or energy around the world. So once he removed those restrictions, companies started selling, prices started to drop because now OPEC had to battle with it. And then evidently Trump came in and was like, or before he left, he was like, he asked OPEC to raise their prices. And so when OPEC raised their prices, everybody else had to raise their prices along with them. I think he's really an interesting person to follow because he was really talking about insider, or not insider, but inside. He's got the perspective of being in the industry. But I have no idea why they bother. I don't even have any idea why they're bothering to even debate. I think we're going to say that we've gone through the second third. So let's have a look. I think for the most part, we're still in the same position as far as qualitatively 8 plus, very good plus, very good plus, flavor and body, still 8.5. Which gives us a running score at the moment of 42. Tony says he's losing power with Comex, so good night. Have a good night, Tony, man. See you next time. Enjoy your stay at the Comex. Brian, I imagine you're at Comex as well, right? I don't know, man. George, you might be right. We may have to move on to something small later. Coffee's nice. Actually, really nice, actually. I do have the laptop here. I could look at the news. I'm sure that one of the news organizations has a running, recap of what's happening. But we're only 10 minutes into it, so they can't be talking too much yet. So any other cigars you guys were smoking this week? Anything interesting? I only smoked that Undercrown Maduro this week since the last show. Oh no, that's not right. I was out with my cousins on Friday night. That's what it was. We went out my cousin, we went to his he belongs to a golf club out here in Baltimore, and it's like, we got this big summer kickoff event. I want you to come. And I was like, all right, I'll come out. Had a really nice time, actually. It was really surprising. Like, it was a seafood beef fiesta, essentially, right? So it's kickoff for the summer, and they brought out trays of snow crabs, potatoes, corn, shrimp, mussels, clams, scallops, and then they had a bar for a prime rib bar. They had prime rib, rice pilaf, green beans, salad. I had a little bit of that. Actually, the seafood was very well done. Like, it could have used a little more seasoning, but overall steamed, very nicely done. I powered on seafood, powered it, just powered it. I was like, I'm not. And then I had a slice of the prime rib. Ooh, it was okay. It was just okay, not great, but the seafood was great. The service was really nice. The girls they have working, they're really friendly, real. And then they had also had they had an open bar. So orange, all kinds of fruit crushes, orange, blueberry, strawberry. I was an orange crush guy. I powered through a bunch of orange crushes and was rather hammered pretty early on, which is good because I needed to be sober by 10 o'clock to drive home. Craig says, New York Times says they have 29 facts. Man, we're in a world where, like, what does it say about the United States, the state of the United States, when during the presidential debate, you actually have to have people checking facts, like, because at least one of them is prone to absolutely outright lying all the time. Like, what does that say? And to imagine that this guy that lies blatantly still has people that think that he's the better choice. And the crazy thing to me is that the people that support this guy are the ones that are like the most Christian, the most vocal of Christians. They're like, I'm Christian. I follow Christ. I follow Jesus. But good Lord, you're endorsing the guy that basically lives against everything Christ ever has stood for, ever taught about. I was like, my God, man. Like, I don't know about you guys and your readings of the Bible, or in the case of Mum, maybe in your reading of the Quran, when Jesus or Isa makes his appearance at least 13 times in the Quran. Was there ever a time when Christ was like, we don't like those people, let's go smite them? It's, those people suck, so let's just go beat them down. Like, I just don't recall in the gospel that Jesus ever did that. The only time I remember Jesus took fisticuffs was when he was at the temple, and the merchants were all like making the temple a joke, and so he got mad and he was like, this is the house of my father, I'm going to kick your butt. But I don't recall him ever going out and being like, hey, those people, we're going to go beat them, right? We're gonna beat them down, we're going to put them in jail, we're going to send them back to wherever they came from. I mean, Christ was a guy that hung out with whores and tax collectors, like the worst people of society. I'm just like, I don't understand. I just don't understand. I'm like, huh? Huh? What? What? Like, I got into a discussion with someone this past week. You know how Louisiana did the whole, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, because maybe this happened last week, but you're familiar with the state of Louisiana decided that they're going to require the Ten Commandments be placed on the walls of all the classrooms. And I was like, interesting. And someone that I was conversing with, they were like, those people are putting rainbows on the wall and they're totally like ramming the rainbows down our throats. So we need to return to values. And I was like, the difference, at least how I see it, maybe I'm completely off base, but I was like, you know, the people that are putting rainbows on the walls and saying, hey, this is the rainbow, we want to be proud about this, are doing so because they're being maligned and beaten down and massacred and they want acceptance. They're asking for acceptance and, to live peaceably. Whereas it seems that the people that are calling for these commandments are the people that are trying to quash these people that want to put rainbows up. And I'm like, there's a bit of a difference between the two. I don't think this person could understand that. And I was like, Christ talked about love and acceptance. Like, if you're following Christ, how can you not love and accept all people? I don't get it. I don't get it. So smoking, so it's gotten a little bit hotter, right? The smoke, the burn feels hotter on the palate at the moment. Perhaps it's a little bit too much. I have to slow down a little bit. And then so I went to a high school. I went to Catholic prep school, this high school here called Loyola Blakefield. And I'm still in touch with many of our classmates who are on Facebook, right? And one of my friends, Tyrone, was posting something. I forgot exactly what he was posting about. Oh, it just had to do with the president or something like that. And, of course, Tyrone's black, right? So, and one of the guys that I know from school, Bill, he was actually a pretty good guy. And oh yeah, so Tyrone was posting. I can't in good conscience support a guy that is, basically this guy that's a racist that wants to, that promotes white nationalism. And this guy Bill writes back. He replies, and he's like, I look at it that people need to live as they are, and that people should be able. It should be okay for them to choose the way they want. And I wrote back, and I finally was like, I'm gonna have to say something because I just couldn't help myself. And I said, Bill, in the line of the thread that we're talking in, you've basically just come out and said that you support white nationalism. Now, I haven't seen if he's responded at all today, but I can't imagine that he's being happy with that. But I was like, Tyrone is talking about this guy being a white nationalist or supporting white nationalists, and you're like, yeah, it's okay. Everybody gets to choose what they want to do. It's like, what? This is the high school that I went to. I didn't really like high school. I wasn't really in the groove with the high school. I learned everything rotten about the world in high school. And I don't know if that's normal for most people, but I really did learn everything rotten about the world. And it's funny, I was talking to a friend of mine. She's a substitute teacher, and she teaches at another Catholic school. And this is a Catholic elementary middle school. And every time I see her, she tells me her stories. She's just like, you just can't believe these people. They're just so she's like, they're so racist. It's like, what? And, she's like, they all have money and they all are well to do because it's not a cheap school to go to. It's just like, wow, it's crazy. It's just crazy. And then I compare that to where my nieces go. My nieces go to this Quaker school. And, you know, I come from a very conservative background, right? And so I come from a very conservative world where the high school was very much a prep school. You can imagine it, right? Whenever I go to events at my niece's school, it's like, it even comes across to me as well. This is very hippy dippy. Like, there's so much love and so much welcoming and acceptance of all types of people, whether they're, of different ethnicities or nationalities, or if they're different gender identities. Everyone's welcome and everybody wears what they want. And I'm like, well, too. And I'm like, And every time I go there, I'm like, this is just weird to me. It's weird because it's just so nice. I don't know. I don't know. But coming along. So how are your guys' cigars coming along? I'm curious to know. Are you enjoying them? Are they going well? Are they not going well? Like, how's that Series D number 4 coming along there for you? And George, you said you were on to another cigar too, right? What was that again? Let me see here. I can't find it. And Brian, you're smoking that T52, or no, you were in the 9. You were in the 9. Oh yeah, yeah. How's that Undercrown 10th coming along? The SD4 is also. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, that old school SD4s are. I remember them being quite nice. What do they cost now in Canada? $300 also? No, that's the Bahikes are 300, right? So these are what, 200? Coming down, coming down. The the overall quality of the smoke of this has been, actually, I have to say it's been excellent. Burn has been well, very good. The smoke production has been excellent. I mean, excellent. Well, definitely very good. I want to say excellent only because I think that it has been very good. But I keep going back to very good. So it's probably very good, 875. When we get there, probably that's where it'll end up being. Like we're talking about the bear earlier. And like I said early in the first season, I thought the cousin was really a pain in the butt. I wanted to get rid of him. But I really enjoyed his renaissance in the second season. And so a friend of mine mentioned this today, and he's like, I've been a fan. He was like, I was Team Carmi, and now I'm all for the cousin. And I was like, you know what? That's how I feel. Like I really like cousin now. I'm really more Team Cousin now than Team Carmi. Not that I don't like Carmi, of course. And then evidently Carmi's girlfriend is coming back in this season, which evidently in the second season, everybody hated that girl. I don't know. I liked her. I liked the idea of this guy, Carmi, this chef that's all like messed up in the head. Finding love and acceptance in a woman. I think that gives hope to the world. Hope to wayward souls like myself. Speaking of wayward souls, as you guys know, you probably saw on yesterday's feed, the day before, a lot of stuff about Anthony Bourdain, right? Anthony Bourdain, Eric Ripert, and the chef from DC, the Mexican guy, or the Spanish guy that does Mexican restaurants, that runs World Central Kitchens, Jose Andres, and Eric Ripert, and one more guy. They started this thing called National Bourdain Day, essentially, to pay respect and homage to Anthony Bourdain. And I've always been a fan of Anthony Bourdain. I read his first book when it first came out, The Kitchen Confidential. But I saw this story about him, or just a recap of his story, where he started. He was a chef. It said he was at 44. He was a chef at Le Hall in New York City, and he decided he wanted to write a story, an article that eventually would become Kitchen Confidential, for the New York Post. And so he submitted to the New York Post and never heard anything about it. The New York Post totally ignored him. And I think he complained to his mom, and his mom was like, why don't you go send it to the New Yorker magazine? And she was like, I have a friend that will at least get it read. So he decided at some point to send it to the New Yorker, to this person. They read it and they liked it. They published it. And that springboarded to Kitchen Confidential and launched him on his whole career path that we know today. So Bourdain wrote the books, got the shows, became incredibly famous, traveled the world, and ultimately, I guess he fell into depression. And this is a guy that did hardcore drugs. Hardcore drugs. Like, he worked at a restaurant here in Baltimore at one point, like in the 80s, did lots of hardcore drugs, did live, partied, and rocked very hard. And it wasn't until he had achieved incredible fame, and I'm sure very good fortune, that he fell into depression and supposedly committed suicide. So we look at this whole progress of Bourdain, of this great redemption, this amazing transformation, and to live an incredible life that ends in horrific tragedy. And I was reading this little blurb, and I was like, I just couldn't help but to think in my mind, it's like, had he not written that article that got published, that led to this path, would he still be here today? Because, like I said, he was he did drugs, he drank, he did smoke cigarettes, he did everything. But it wasn't until he achieved this fame that he got to the darkest point. Like, he'd been with his wife for decades by the time that he got divorced from her, and and I just wondered, had he not found that fame, would he still be alive today? He could just be probably still a chef at Le Hall, or maybe doing something else, but would he still be here? Would he have fallen into that dark path? Craig says that about $35 on the Indian reservations, and $50 off reserve. Okay, so not cheap, but not as horrible as other cigars. Okay, not too bad. Brian says, I love the shows yeah, I love them. I love them too, man. I love them too. And I think about it now. Bourdain, when he started, he was like late 40s when he started his show. He's younger than we are now. Edith Bunker, Jean Stapleton, when she was doing All of the Family, was younger than we are today. So that's crazy. That's crazy. A friend of mine was posting this picture of Jean Stapleton in this kind of choker with this, almost looks like she's wearing this tight top, looks like almost like a bathing suit with a choker, and she was hanging out with some other famous guy back in the 70s at Club 50, at Studio 54 or something like that. And I was like, dude, I said to my friend, I posted on his post, I was like, dude, you realize that Jean Stapleton in this picture was younger then than we are today? And he was like, dude, no way. I was like, yeah, man, that's kind of messed up. So yeah, Kitchen Confidential, I really enjoyed that darker look at the underbelly of restaurants. So I read that, and then I started reading other books, and so I would read other. What I really enjoyed was a series of books. And I can't remember who the author was now, but I enjoyed reading about these other chefs who they had these books where they talked about their story, their journey, and to their path to becoming who they became. And I think that's why I really enjoyed the season 2, episode 7 of The Bear, when Cousin goes through that renaissance. Because it's that journey. It's that journey of discovery, of pushing yourself and learning that you have greater depth than you might have thought you had. And you push yourself towards that. I think that's a really compelling. But with Bourdain, cheated on his wife, got divorced, met other girls, Asia Argento and all that, who was pretty darn good looking before when she was younger. I guess still good looking today. But I wonder, like, did the fame lead to loneliness? Like, you're famous in the world, but you don't know who your friends are. You don't know who you can trust. You don't really have any you can hang out with. Like, if we think about ourselves, right? We have our groups of friends, we hang out with them, and there's a level of acceptance amongst your group of friends, and you're just kind of hanging out, doing your thing, and you don't have to really think too much about it. But if you're someone like Bourdain, who comes from that world of having friends, but then now you're like famous almost on a worldwide level, instantly recognizable, undoubtedly hounded by fans, and adulated and adored by people. And when you meet them, they're going to treat you a certain way, not like a regular person, but like someone that's something to them, right? Miguel's with us. What's going on, Miguel? How are you, man? How are things in Vancouver? And I wonder, like I had an experience a while back. When I was early in the coffee business, my friend and I, we did a podcast. We're the first coffee podcast in the industry, and pretty much most people in the industry listen to it. I think, maybe not, who knows? But when you're a fan, I guess, like Bourdain would have a lot of fans, and they consume your content, they build a relationship with you, right? So my friend and I did this podcast for like 3 years or 4 years, maybe five. And, you know, I'm not saying that I'm famous, but like, I remember one day we were out, Nick and I, and we were at some coffee event or somewhere. And this guy came up to us and was hanging out with us a little bit, and he's making jokes. And when you're with your friends, you make all kinds of jokes, insider jokes, right? Because you've known each other for so long, you have a rapport, you have something that's just innate and doesn't need to be said. And finally had decent weather. Excellent, excellent. Glad to hear. We're having decent weather here too. And this guy comes up and he starts talking with us and making jokes. He's making kind of off-color jokes, right? Like you'll make off-color jokes with your friends, right? But they're off color, and you know the person really well, so it's no big deal. You don't even think about it, right? You just say, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, like we could joke about something, and you're like, I know you, I've known you for so long, I know you don't believe that, right? But when you make those kind of jokes, just people that you don't know, or I'm sorry, the people that don't know you, like this guy was making some pretty like familiar, colloquial kind of like comments, and I was like, and I was, I didn't say anything. I was, enjoying the time with him, but I just kept thinking in my mind, it's like, I have to remember that we may not know this guy at all, but he knows us because he's been listening for like, however long he's been listening. And it's like, so he feels very comfortable. And the idea behind the show, or the idea behind all of that, is to have a good rapport, so that people will listen and people will enjoy the content that we're sharing and talking about. And so that is part of the goal. But it does lead to these kind of sometimes weird interactions where you're like, oh, I don't really know you, but you're making these jokes, and that's making me a little bit uncomfortable. And so I'm sure that Bourdain had that kind of experience, but like much more intense, because people are chasing after you or whatever. So I wonder how much that really led to him, you know, being isolated, being lonely, feeling depressed, you know, trying to find some way to cope with that kind of thing. Like, you're traveling around the world, you've got your crew, but you're the you're the talent and they're the crew, so you don't really hang out in the same way you would with if you were all people on the same crew. So I can only guess that Bourdain lived quite a lonely existence after he reached the fame. Which is a little bit sad, you know. It's like you've achieved incredible success, but what did it lead to? Maybe that's too existential now to talk about. I think I'm getting bit. I think I've got Japanese beetles flying around me. What we haven't seen here in Baltimore is the cicadas. They said that this pocket of Baltimore was going to be kind of secluded from cicadas. Now, I think the cicada season has passed, but I haven't really seen any cicadas this year. I don't know if you've seen them where you guys are. So, Miguel, are you having a cigar with us, or are you just kind of hanging out? Either way is fine, but if you are smoking a cigar, I'm just curious to know what you're having. And how's the cigar scene out there on the West Coast? I know that Craig says that it's pretty restricted in Ottawa. My brother and his family are actually headed to Montreal this week. They were like, hey, we're going to go to Montreal this week. I was like, oh, all right. Evidently, they're flying. I was like, you're going to fly? I was like, really? I thought you would have driven. But I do like Montreal. Montreal's a nice town. I've been there a few times. I always like to enjoy going to the Marché Jean Talon to, see the foodstuffs and have a little bit to eat. There's a restaurant, not a restaurant, but a kitchen supply store called Quincaillerie Daniel, right? Is that right? Just around the corner, like a block or two away from the Marché. You walk in there, it's this Italian kind of like kitchen place, and they sell all kinds of, it's jam-packed. At least the last time I was there, it's been a long time since I've been there, but jam-packed of all this stuff. I'm like, oh, I go there, I'm like, oh, I need to buy that Imperial pasta maker. It's kind of ridiculous. Miguel's having the Hoya de Nicaragua, Gran Reserva, and a Weller Bourbon. Excellent. Bourbon, not Bourbon. This is the problem when you're into too much into coffee. You call bourbon Bourbon. Oh, reminding me. Speaking of Bourbon, I've got this red Bourbon iced coffee here. Now, this iced coffee was, I guess it's not a cold brew. It is cold. But we brewed it on the morning show yesterday. Basic pour over in the number 3 size of the Hario Pegasus. So pour over. And I just let it sit out on the counter for the last day and a half just to see how it would turn out. And it's actually turned out very enjoyable. Is it better than the cold brew that you make like in a toddy or something? I don't know. I think it's as good. And it was hot brewed. It doesn't have the clarity of the cold brew that we do toddy style, but actually I spent today roasting some coffees. One of my clients, he's like, he runs a restaurant. He's like, we want to start doing, he called me up earlier this week or last weekend. He's like, hey, we want to start doing a cold brew at the restaurant. What do you have for us? I said, we got this great coffee that's great for cold brew. It's an anaerobic processed coffee that's very milky and sweet when it's cold. And he's like, good, let's do that. And so trying to figure out exactly how much coffee they're going to need. Like, at their restaurant, we're bringing them, X amount of coffees, pounds of coffees. And it lasts about a week. Like 15 pounds will last about a week for them. And they're doing batch brew and FETCO brewers. But this one, a batch of the cold brew, you're using 5 pounds of coffee at a time. And I don't know what kind of consumption they're going to have, especially now in the summer when people tend to drink a lot of cold drinks and cold brew is quite popular. So I'm like, oh man, I'm a little bit concerned that, how do we manage that supply chain for them? Miguel says in British Columbia, it's worse. Oh no, that's terrible. That's terrible. And then Brian says in Phoenix, 111 and are you in Phoenix, Brian, or are you here? I didn't know you went to Phoenix if you're in Phoenix. 110 and a little humid. That sounds rather difficult. So we're at what is it? It is now 9:40. Can we stretch? One of our friends, there was a time there was a chapter in life where one of our friends was very much uh, he didn't have to work as early in the morning as he does now, and we would be hanging out at Bud's house, and it would be late, like maybe 11:30, and Bud's like, I gotta go to bed now, and he would be like, wait a minute, I still have this much left. And that guy would make this last like another hour. And I was like, wow, that's impressive. So can we stretch this for 20 minutes? I'm actually not very good at that. I'm much more of a hedonist to do that. Like when I enjoy something, I like to consume it. Oh, but speaking of cigars, like I was saying, I was at my last Friday, and we were we went back to his house after the dinner, and I had some cigars. I had just had a one cigar. He had the Corona size of the Roma Craft, the new Roma Craft Cro-Magnon, the one that has the Pennsylvania broadleaf wrapper, the one that we did the Clovis, but the regular wrapper. And I gotta say, I've had the new Romas, a few times in addition to the Clovis. They're all good, but the Corona shape, the thinner ring gauge, man, I think that's the best expression that I've had so far of that. Brian, I think that's the one. If you haven't tried that one, perhaps that's the one you should try. That Corona-sized Pennsylvania broadleaf Cro-Magnon. That was really good. I was like, wow, this is actually really, really good. I wonder if that's the size that they originally created that blend for. The cigar scene is non-existent. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm sorry to hear that. That's the one nice thing about that's still somewhat decent here in the United States. We still have shops that we can go to and smoke in. So there can be some sense of community. That's actually the part of cigaring that I miss the most. Like, we all used to hang out at this one cigar shop that closed, and it reopened. Another company came and took over the location and reopened the shop, and it's just not the same. It's just not as comfortable. It's not as community oriented. So we don't really get to go to. I don't really get to go to shops very much anymore. So it's kind of I miss that interaction of being like, because there's always a lot of there's potential for serendipitous type of interactions with people. And when you're hanging with your group of friends, it's good to be with friends, but like it's always the same friends. It's not like it's not the wheel of fortune of friends that you just might run into someone you haven't seen in a while or you've never met before, and you get to relate in a new way. And if there's no scene, that's even worse. And I think that's part of what's led to our current predicament in the United States with the difficulties with politics is that after the 2007 ban on cigar smoking in pretty much most places except for cigar shops, you know, specifically politicians lost their ability to interact with each other outside of their official duties. And when you're sitting around with a cigar with someone, you can talk about different topics and maybe find some kind of common ground to compromise on. But if you never have that experience, if you never have that opportunity, then compromise becomes impossible because you never get to have that conversation. I think that's a big component of the issues we face in the United States today. Because I'm not going to go to a Klan rally. I don't have the hood. And but maybe that Klan guy might hang out at the cigar shop, and you get the chance to chat. And he may not like you. Especially since I'm not white and Catholic. Two strikes, at least. Uh, and maybe if but you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, that's a shame. I do think that we should have a way in society for people to enjoy themselves, express themselves in their own way. Like I get the I understand the idea of having a ban on smoking. I, for one, who spent a lot of time when I was younger in clubs and bars, going out, and I remember coming home from the club just reeking of cigarette smoke, and I was like, God, I just hated that. I hated that. But perhaps maybe having smoking everywhere is not ideal, but having smoking nowhere is also too extreme. So there should be some flexibility there. Miguel says, I smoke pipe as well, but when I listen to YouTube, but when I listen to but when I listen to YouTube review, oh, I see. That Robusto can last them 45 minutes to an hour. A Robusto for me is a good hour and a half. Oh, wow. Hour and a half. That's good. This show is actually one where I tend to smoke. Like most cigars will last on here almost hour and a half to almost 2 hours. In my normal hanging out of smoking, like this cigar may only last an hour. So maybe doing a show is actually more economical because I don't smoke as much. Like I would probably typically smoke 2 cigars in the time that we're doing this. So with your pipe smoking there, are you more of an aromatic or more of an English guy, and do you have a preference for type of pipe? There's this one pipe guy that I follow on Instagram. He's a Japanese dude. He goes under Tomorking Coffee. Is that right? Tomorking Coffee. And his whole thing, he's a young, turns I finally saw a picture of him. He's a young guy, probably in his maybe late 20s, and he's really into pipes. And that's what he posts about. He posts pictures of him smoking pipes in coffee shops in Tokyo. Some of them I've actually been to. And I just enjoy. I'm not really a pipe smoker. Like I have some pipes, but I'm not really into it as much. And but I do enjoy watching him. He's got the nice Dunhill, the Dunhill, the rectangle shaped Dunhill, and he sits there with a nice pipe. And he posts a picture of him, his pipe, and a little pipe stand, having coffee. It was like, and he actually posts once in a while from this place called 310 Coffee, which is a coffee shop in Ginza, which is actually is basically next door to the hotel that I stay in, or I have stayed in the last 2 trips. And I was like, dude, and I just saw his picture after I left last year. And I was like, man, I wish I had known that you were there. I would have loved to have come down and met you and had a smoke with you. Oh, and Craig's SD4 is done. Oh, man. Vapor. Is that does that mean you are a vaping kind of guy, or is that a type of brand of pipe? This is how little I know about pipes. But I do like nice quality. I can respect nice quality stuff. Like a few years back, we were in Italy. We were in Sassuolo, which is a town just outside of Bologna. And our friend was like, "Hey, let's go down." So there's a whole bunch of guys that were there, but two of them are friends of mine here in Baltimore, and we were all together. And one of them's really a big pipe guy, and we were all like, "Let's go down to Florence." We drove over to Bologna, took the train into Florence, and we're down by the Duomo, the big church there. And Al was like, "We need to go check out this pipe shop." So we went to this pipe shop that evidently is relatively pretty famous there. I don't remember the name, unfortunately. But we go there, this older guy is there. He makes, I don't know if he makes the pipes or if he just sells really nice, but they're really nice pipes. They're like $300. But I remember I'm looking at this one briar pipe. I'm like, God, this is just beautiful. Like, look, I probably don't smoke pipes very often, but I was like, this is so pretty. I was like, I would love to buy one of these just because of the beauty, right? The beauty is really one of the big attractions. The beauty of like craftsmanship, I really find attractive. Like I've been thinking a lot more about tea lately. And I've been looking at these like different pots, these I think they're called Kyushu teapots. They're also these Chinese teapots, and they're all handmade from special clays. And I was like, ooh, that would be nice to have. They're beautifully done. But then I was looking up the prices, and I was like, oh my gosh, man, this little tiny teapot, I think it's called the Kyushu teapot. They're like $300. I was like, oh, $300. I was like, whoa, for a teapot. That seems crazy. Hmm. Virginia with Perique. Oh, gotcha. So the Virginias, like I know they have the Virginia type of tobaccos that are shredded for cigarettes. I'm presuming that the Virginia tobaccos, when you're mentioning Virginia tobacco, those are different Virginia tobaccos than the types that are used for cigarettes. Is that correct? Is that correct? The Periques, I think, are interesting. That whole smokiness, that really kind of interesting depth and funkiness that they give. Like I remember the Philippine cigar company, Tabacalera, for a while they were making a line of cigars where they mixed in the Perique. I thought that was very interesting. Very different. Very different. Oh, it is different. Okay, very good. Very good. Getting it. It's starting to go out now. But it has burned very well. Lightsaber is probably a dangerous item to use, especially since it's so small. And I can feel the heat on my fingertips. Although my kyber crystal is dying. Look at oh, it's dying. It's dying. It's dying. It's dying. It's dying. It's almost dead. Mm. Even down here at the very end, still pretty enjoyable. So I gotta say, this Fonseca Edition MX, worth checking out. Worth checking out. It won't be the highest rated cigar. I'm gonna guess probably somewhere around 86, 84 to 86, maybe to 87 somewhere. Oh, no, probably not 87. Maybe 84. But solid smoke, very enjoyable, good complexity, nice tones of tobacco, cacao, spiciness. There was a hint at one point of a little bit of brightness, but that went away quickly. But the smoke production has been very good. The draw started out really, really light, like really, really easy, maybe a little bit too easy for my taste. But that ended up not being a negative. It actually was very fine. And the smoke production very good. Burn overall has been very good. This is like the only time we did one more relight. I think we touched it up at one point. So very P on this is like 13. which is a 6.5 by 56 cigar. Not bad, not bad. All right, I'm gonna have to give that up. My fingers are burning. Well, there it is. So let's have a look at our scoring. All right, so last third, I think it's been very consistent overall. So also 8.5 for flavor, 8.5 for body. And then we have our burn and draw. Like I know I said excellent, but I just really have to go stay with very good plus. So 8.75 for that. Consistency. Okay, I'll say 9 for consistency. And overall, I'm going to say 8.5 as well. So that gives us a total score of 85.25. Oh, pretty close. 85.25 for the My Father Fonseca Edition MX Toro Grande. So very good score. Miguel says pipe smoking can be crazy. Dunhill and Castello are top brands, and the Danish artisan pipe carver are way up there. I'm going to presume that you have quite a nice collection since you know those things. All right. Well, I guess that's going to be it for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to be back again next week with a cigar that I picked up while I was in Salt Lake City, something called from a company called Apostate Cigars. My understanding of Apostate is that it was a cigar that was founded, I believe, in Salt Lake in the Mormon world, that is kind of a rebellion against the Mormon Church. And that's going to be next week. And then the week after, we're going to be in New Jersey and Ridgewood at the tobacco shop of Ridgewood for the 200th episode. So if you can make it to New Jersey, New York area, come down. We're going to have a nice night of cigars and swag and giveaways and all kinds of fun stuff. And then we're also going to, and then if you stay over the night, we're going to probably do a crawl of some cigar shops in New Jersey and then into New York City later in the day, ending up at the Carnegie Club on Friday night. So if you can join us, come join us. We'd love to have you. Come and be with us. Yeah, you too, Miguel. And Mom, always good to see you, Mom. Yeah, Craig, Brian, great to have you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you being here as always. So back again next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful week. And don't forget to check out the bear. All right, see you then.